Hey, truth seekers, welcome back. Zach here. Tomorrow night, August 20th, 2016, UFC 202 will take place. The headline fight is Conor McGregor versus Nate Diaz, the rematch. They fought earlier this year, March 5th, 2016. Nate Diaz submitted Conor McGregor in the second round of that fight. A lot of people said it was an upset, but the fight had a lot of question marks on it. 11 days before the fight, Nate Diaz was substituted in for Dos Anjos, who supposedly broke his foot on February 23rd. Remember that date, 2/23. We're going to talk about why it's significant. Nate Diaz was substituted in to fight at the last second, replacing the fighter who supposedly broke their foot on that date. And Conor McGregor was fighting up about 15 pounds above his normal weight class. And I believe this fight will also be at that same weight class, but he's had more time for his body to adjust being up. So, in this video, I'm going to show what's so interesting about the scripting date of this fight, why it truly could go either fighter's way, but why I suspect Conor McGregor will win in the rematch, and why he will win his next two fights after this one. I suspect that Conor McGregor will improve his current record of 19-3 to 22-3, a lot like that February 23rd cancellation date with Dos Anjos, and we'll talk about why. Before we get to the upcoming fight, let's review what happened on March 5th. Please notice this 41-second timestamp. We're going to be talking about the significance of 41 for the beginning. The number 41 is the 13th prime number. That is a special number to this nation. In gematria, the practice of coding numbers into words, which the English language is based on, see my video, How to Gematria, USA sums to 41. U is the 21st letter, S is the 19th, A is the 1st. Add the three letters together, 41. 41 is the 13th prime number. This nation began with 13 colonies. There's 13 stripes on the flag. Our public school system, our programming years, K to 12, 13 in number. This fight, this last fight, where this shot's from, right after the March 5th fight, Diaz upsets McGregor by second round submission. Notice that the name Nate in Pythagorean gematria equals 13, just like Jose. Conor McGregor came into this fight having knocked out Jose Aldo in 13 seconds. We'll talk about what's interesting about Jose's birthday in regards to 13. The date Nate Diaz won, March 5th, 2016, think about how that date's written 3/5 in the U.S. The third month, the fifth day, a lot like 35. Nate Diaz in Pythagorean gematria sums to 35. His birth name, Nathan Diaz, equals 44. The date numerology of the fight was 44. If you write out 44 as a word, it sums to 144 in gematria. Nate Diaz's initials, N's the 14th letter, D's the 4th, ND 14-4, a lot like 144, connecting back to 44. Conor McGregor also fell to 19-3 on this date, the 44th prime number. A lot of 44 in this fight. Oftentimes in championship bouts, 44 a number of focus. The word grand equals 44. Think about grand in terms of a championship, the big time. All after this fight, ESPN kept putting up stories with 41-second timestamps. I should mention that the notorious Conor McGregor's nickname has gematria of 179, the 41st prime number. 179, the 41st prime. 41, the 13th prime. How is 79 connects to 41, connects to 13. Another story from ESPN, 41 seconds. When Conor McGregor lost on March 5th, it was the 65th day of 2016. Conor equals 65. Conor going down on the 65th day, he went down with the rear naked choke. That's this. Rear naked choke equals 65. It also sums to 119, just like the phrase all-seeing eye, just like the phrase Star of David, the symbol of the Freemasons and Zionists who own and operate these leagues and use puppets to deceive the masses, such as Dana White. Dana White's always been a puppet. There might be these headlines about how he just sold for all this money. It's all bullshit, people. It's all a narrative. There's so many layers to it, but Dana White's never been more than a figurehead to represent for the Zionists and Masonic gang that's always run UFC. I know so many people are saying bullshit. Research my work. You'll come to see that I'm telling you the truth. When Nate Diaz won, it was 42 days before his upcoming birthday. 42 days. Special number. Birthday equals 42, so does Freemason. And when the Freemasons do their scripting of sports, they always measure from the birthdays. 42 days before his 31st birthday, he got the win. He turned 31 April 16th this year. April 16th, the 106th day of the year in non-leap years, the year he was born. 106 is a number of prophecy, a big number in the world of scripted sports. If you're new to my channel and you doubt my work, I challenge you to go back and watch all that I predicted about the Super Bowl, all that I predicted about the NBA Finals before either of them happened. Talked a lot about the number 106, the number of prophecy. Big number. Nate Diaz born on the 106th day of the year. Talk about why his place of birth is interesting too, Stockton, California, a little bit. Conor McGregor, when he lost, that came 131 days before his birthday. Championship fight, the word championship in gematria equals 131. So does Super Bowl. A lot of times, the team that loses in a championship will have this number coded on them. You can't read for sure whether a win or a loss, but you'll often find it with the people who are there. He lost in this championship bout 131 days before his birthday. Remember, their rematch was supposed to be July 9th, 5 days before his birthday. I put out a video more than a month before the fight saying it would go to Conor McGregor by the numbers after 5 rounds in a unanimous decision. I'm not sure that'll be the same, but I did a video that you can go back and watch, and I showed why. And a part of me wonders if I ruined that fight, and I'm the reason they had to reschedule it. Might be a little arrogant, but it might also be a little bit possible. See the article written about me by USA Today, the big lead in January, mocking me for all that I predicted about the Super Bowl before it happened. I called who the MVP would be, a Black Panther tribute, who would win, and I did it all before the Super Bowl was even set. The night of the last time McGregor and Diaz fought, Miesha Tate became champion. Look at the timestamp for hers, 44. It was a date with 44 numerology like we talked about. She has birth numerology of 131. She won. There's the duality of it. You know, Conor McGregor was 131 days away. He lost. For her, she had the 131 birth numerology. She won. Just before the fight, there was the news on February 22nd of Conor McGregor's former sparring partner friend being murdered in a Regency hotel. Regency hotel equals 65. Just like him losing on the 65th day of the year. The day after the murder in Dublin, where he was supposedly killed, where Conor McGregor's from, they went on a raid, like a mini martial law in an area, locking down, kicking in doors, searching for this person. At least this is what they reported in the media. And the day they did that, February 23rd, this is the same day Jose Aldo would report that he broke his leg. Or not Jose Aldo, Dos Anjos. But look, February 23rd, this is in response to the death of Conor McGregor's friend in his hometown. Conor equals 223. Masonic 223. The Synagogue of Satan 223. That's the name for the false Jews who will rule in the end times, as described in the book of Revelation, which you should take interest in no matter what your religion is. For the record, I'm not a religious person. I'm just a researcher, just trying to find truth. But if you read Revelation, you'll notice Revelation 3:7, it talks about the Church of Philadelphia, the original name of the capital of this nation, and in that verse, it talks about the Synagogue of Satan, the false Jews. You read Revelation, you can start to see what's going on in this nation. You can start to see why things are so bad. Revelation's about an ugly time in the world. In the United States of America, it creates an ugly time in the world needlessly for a lot of people. And a lot of people, they have so much misery in their lives that the only enjoyment they get is watching men beat each other on the TV. That's why this UFC is really so popular. I used to live downtown Seattle. We had a UFC event one time at Key Arena in the 5-6, how long did I live down there? I forget. 7 years I lived down there. One UFC fight the whole time I was down there. That night there was chaos. There were so many arrests. There were so many broken windows. I said, look at this, man. This stuff just gets people acting nuts. People want to say heavy metal and all that gets people acting crazy. There's all sorts of heavy metal concerts down there. That's not exactly my scene either, but I never saw anybody act that crazy after any heavy metal concert. You get people after the UFC fight, it's like a riot. The synagogue of Satan, the small way, is also the same as Conor McGregor. You know, Conor, Masonic, the synagogue of Satan, Conor McGregor. Mixed martial arts also has that gematria 79. So does Stockton, California, where Nate Diaz is from. Again, this guy died in the Regency Hotel. And if you're new to my work, you know, I always show, sadly, how there's these ritual sacrifices in the world of celebrities that are reported in the media. Earlier this year, I predicted that Prince would die after the death of Vanity. He ended up dying 67 days after Vanity, exactly what I said to look out for. You know, I predicted in 2014 that Muhammad Ali would die at age 74 because Muhammad equals 74 plus a whole lot more. So does Jesus, so does Cross. Muhammad Ali, ritually sacrificed this year by the numbers. See my work on it. So if this man really was killed, I suspect that he truly was a ritual sacrifice for Conor McGregor, and possibly also so that they could do a little police drill locking down part of Dublin, you know, raiding homes, searching for the bad guy, which might just be a fictitious character. Here's the cancellation for Dos Anjos, February 23rd, 2/23. Let me show you what's so interesting about this. Supposedly it was from a broken foot, which in Gematria sums to 49 the small way, 121 the big way. Revelation, the book of prophecies, 49 the small way, 121 the big way. The date this fight was agreed to, January 12th. In most parts of the world, that date's written 12/1, a lot like 121, a lot like broken foot. And what I would bet you, look at this. From the date the fight was scheduled to the date it was canceled, 42 days. Again, Freemason 42. We talked about this with Nate Diaz, 42 days before his birthday, the last fight. You know, happy birthday to him. But this is what I mean. All of this stuff is orchestrated by the numbers. I bet you anything this guy didn't break his foot. I bet you it was all scripted for Nate Diaz the whole time, and it's just kind of the way they keep the narrative fresh and exciting and at the same time mess with people's heads. Think about all the people that go out and pay for UFC to watch these fights and they get canceled at the last second. You know, I did that video on hit and run with the UFC fight that was supposed to happen, and they ended up canceling that fight too. I almost felt like I destroyed both these fights because I exposed what was going to happen long before they happened. They were too obvious by the numbers. But then again, in the world of sports, they do this stuff a lot. Cancel fights, reschedule, sub in somebody. So check this out. Here's a recent article. This is from August 17th, front page of ESPN, front page story. Stockton, fighting in Nate Diaz's journey to the big time. 41-second timestamp. Here we go again. Remember, 41 the 13th prime. Nate, Jose. If you write out 13, it sums to 99. Jose Aldo, born on September 9th. This headline, Stockton, fighting in Nate Diaz's journey to the big time, sums to 223. You know? Nate Diaz is a respected fighter by UFC fans. Like my buddy, for example, likes Nate Diaz a lot. He doesn't think the fights are scripted. He thinks I'm crazy. He thinks I'm just getting, finding coincidence. My friend's one of these people that wants to call everything a coincidence, like so many other Americans. But anyway, he's convinced that there's no way that Conor McGregor can beat Nate Diaz. So tomorrow, if Conor McGregor wins, I know Nate, my buddy, is going to pay a little bit more attention. But then again, I'm also going to explain why there is a narrative still for Nate Diaz. I just think more lines up for Conor McGregor. And just things like this, even the headlines surrounding the fight being coded with Conor's numbers. Then again, Conor did lose on the 65th day of the year, which makes it hard to tell sometimes. But I really do think Conor McGregor, star of the sport, they need him to win. They need to elevate his name. He sells for them. A lot of this comes back to money. He sells. I think we're going to see Conor McGregor at 22-3, possibly 23-3, and we'll talk about why. So the story, if you click, I'll link this post in the description. If you click down on the ESPN story, it goes to a 3-minute and 5-second story about Nate Diaz and his upbringing in Stockton, California. 3-5, he won on March 5th, Nate Diaz 35. I'll link that, you can check that out. There's our buddy Jose Aldo, born September 9th. Right out 13, it equals 99. He went down in 13 seconds. He went down on December 12, 2015, a date with 39 numerology. 13 goes into 39 3 times. That is the birthday of Royce Gracie, who won UFC 1 in a minute 44, the very first one. The final championship bout was a minute 44 long. the word time in Jewish gematria equals 144. Think about how each day there's 1,440 minutes. Take the 0 off the end. The square root of 144 is 12, meaning 12 times 12 is 144, 12 months in a year, 12 hours in the morning, the evening. This is a number that has to do with time. The first UFC fight ended in the perfect time. Royce Gracie was born on 12/12, December 12th. Conor McGregor won his last fight December 12th in 13 seconds. If he wins tomorrow, it will come 36 weeks later. And the reason that's interesting, 36 weeks, is the number 151 is the 36th prime. Conor McGregor equals 151. When he won against Jose Aldo in 13 seconds, he won exactly 151 days after his last birthday, July 14th. Here's that right here. Perfectly synced up with his birthday. So what's interesting, tomorrow, UFC 202. If you write out 202, it sums to 64. Tomorrow's fight's on a date with 64 numerology. Israel equals 64. Synagogue of Satan equals 64. Israel, the Zionist state, is truly the state of the synagogue of Satan, the false Jews. Because in the Torah, the Jewish holy book, it says they're not supposed to have a state. So that means the Jews that are in Israel aren't following their religion, which means they're not legitimate. It's that simple. You know, all of this stuff that we see through the TV, news, media, rig sports, it's all given to us by this Zionist gang. And I just noticed that tomorrow's fight has some major Zionist numbers. And I think right now, in all of the sports that they own, Conor McGregor is like their best symbol for what the synagogue of Satan is. It's self-worship. It's putting yourself before everything else. It's F everybody else. That's Conor McGregor's attitude. Selfish, arrogant, disrespectful. This is what this gang promotes with the media that they rule. So I think it's symbolic that the fight got pushed to this date. When the fight is ending Universal Standard Time, it will already be August 21st. Read Revelation 21:8. When you read that verse, you'll be like, oh, that is Conor McGregor. And then you think about all the people who worship Conor McGregor. That verse is also about those people. That's your homework, to read Revelation 21:8. And don't read it as a religious person. Read it as someone who's trying to know more about this world. Because what I'm telling you is the people who run this world, they're using Revelation like a playbook. Tomorrow's fight's also a date with 19 numerology. Both McGregor and Diaz have 19 career wins. Fighting on a date with 19 numerology. If you add every number up to 13, it sums to 91, the reflection of 19. Tomorrow's date also has 44 numerology. Last time Nate Diaz won, it was on a date with 44 numerology, but it also had the 35 Nate Diaz connection, plus it synced up with his birthday. He doesn't have all that going this time. August 20th, tomorrow, because it's a leap year, will also be the 233rd day of the year. The Fibonacci numbers, which work like this. The Fibonacci sequence is like the spiral in your palm, the galaxy, the mathematical ratio, if you break it down. Some people call it the numbers of God. It works like this. 1, you add those numbers together, 2. Then you add 1 plus 2, you get 3. Then you add 2 plus 3, you get 5. You add 3 plus 5, you get 8. You see this? 5 plus 8, 13. You keep adding the 2 numbers before to get the next number. Anyhow, 144 is the 12th Fibonacci number. Isn't that interesting? The square root of 144 is the 12th. It's also the 12th Fibonacci number. And the 13th Fibonacci number is 233. Nate equals 13. Conor McGregor, his last win, 13-second knockout. Now we get a fight on the 233rd day of the year. The 13th Fibonacci number. And I think this bodes well for McGregor, who won on 12/12. 12 times 12, 144. Royce Gracie's birthday, who won in a minute 44. I could be reading it backwards, but this is why I favor McGregor. I just tell you based on my understanding. I'm someone who's studying this, who doesn't have it all figured out. I report on what I know and ask that other intelligent, like-minded people, help apply the research and contribute. The more people taking this seriously, recognizing its worth, the more people working at it, the further we'll go. Again, Conor McGregor, 19-3, the 44th prime. Tomorrow's fight, 44 numerology. That could favor Conor. I forgot to mention that their fights at the welterweight bout, gematria 65, like their last fight on the 65th day of the year, going down with the rear naked choke. 202, gematria 64, like tomorrow's date numerology. It's in Las Vegas. Check this out. If you write out 19, tomorrow's date, 19 numerology, both fighters 19 wins. The fight's in Las Vegas. A lot of UFC fights are. Just look at these numbers, though, with 86 gematria. Pyramid and triangle and Pythagorean gematria both sum to 41 as well. 41. On the dollar bill, the pyramid has 13 steps. Pyramid 41, 41 the 13th prime. See the video I just put out about the Bavarian Illuminati and the US dollar denominations, why we have the 7 bills that we do. For Diaz tomorrow, it's his 30th fight. That's symbolic for the UFC. That could go well for him. If he wins, this is what it was about. That it was his 30th fight, UFC's 30, Octagon's 30. That's what they call the shape of the arena they fight in for the UFC, the Octagon. If you write out 30, it sums to 37. Tomorrow has the 37 date numerology. From his birthday to tomorrow's fight is 126 days. I noticed that from the first fight to what would have been the rematch was 126 days. Then they rescheduled it. And from his birthday to the fight's 126 days. And this is a number that's been showing up in sports championships. I've been documenting this. If you add up the entire alphabet in Pythagorean gematria, it sums to 126. Conor Notorious McGregor, how you could possibly write his name with his nickname, has this gematria of 126. From Conor McGregor's birthday, July 14th to the fight is also 37 days. Again, it's 37 numerology. But we see how this number connects to both fighters. It connects to Diaz because it's his 30th fight. 30 has gematria 37. It also comes 37 days after McGregor's most recent birthday. I don't know if Nate Diaz is fighting in UFC 202. I wrote this days ago when they put this up. He said, if they make me an offer I can't refuse, which had gematria 307, just like Freemason and Jewish gematria. Again, just to review, they were going to fight July 9th. It got canceled. It got moved back to August 20th. There was some weird stuff going on for a second. Conor McGregor was going to retire. There was talk about him joining the WWE. That fight, had it been on July 9th, Conor McGregor equals 79, mixed martial arts equals 79. It was coming 5 days before his birthday. UFC fights are 5 rounds, 5 minutes a round, 5 symbolism. His birthday was going to be on a date with 25 numerology. Had the fight gone the whole distance, it would have been a 25-minute fight, and unanimous decision equals 79 as well. He could have won in unanimous decision after 5 rounds, after 25 minutes. It would have been so perfect by the numbers. I predicted that's what was going to happen. The fight got canceled, so we don't get to know. Somewhere I got this gematria for unanimous decision. I'll show it to you. Again, just a reminder about 13. After Conor McGregor won in 13 seconds, him and Ronda Rousey cover the UFC video game. Ronda Rousey had just lost in her 13th fight. Conor McGregor, by the way, his full birth name, Conor Anthony McGregor, equals 113, just like Scottish, just like mainstream, just like dishonest. He won that fight against Jose Aldo, round 1, 13 seconds. So it was recorded 1-13, a lot like his name, 113. And you know what? If he never wins again, let's say he does lose tomorrow against Nate Diaz and maybe he decides to opt out of the UFC and go fight in WWE. Remember that his last fight was that way by the numbers. It could be that way, but I have a feeling he's going to stick around, make a lot more money along with the UFC, and we'll see this guy at 22-3. We'll find out soon enough. From the date that the fight was scrapped with Dos Anjos and Nate Diaz being substituted in until today is also 179 days. The Notorious equals 179. Again, 179 is the 41st prime, 41 is the 13th prime. Goes back to 223, the number for Conor. I think all of this is part of a narrative to build up Conor. And perhaps he wins at this weight class and he stays here. Who knows? Maybe he becomes a great fighter that bounces between both and defends titles at 2 belts. Conor McGregor's still a young guy. He could have a lot of legs left in the UFC. Some more recent Conor McGregor headlines. This one's from the Daily Mail. They love to code bullshit into their headlines. This article was written June 19th. June 19th, 19/6. Conor McGregor's birthday is the 196th day of the year. He also lost in UFC 196. He really fell on his number. It was UFC 196. It was the 65th day. It was like too much lined up for him that day. He was the ritual sacrifice for it. Perhaps from that day on, his career gets better. This is what we're going to find out. From the date he lost that fight until the date this article was written about him feeling fantastic was 106 days. That's the number of prophecy. Nate Diaz is born on the 106th day of the year. Prophecy the small way sums to 52. This year, Conor McGregor's birthday fell on a day with 52 numerology. From that date the article was written, it talks about him feeling fantastic in Dublin. From June 19th to the date of the fight tomorrow is 62 days. Dublin equals 62. Mason equals 62. The word fantastic has gematria of 30, like UFC, like Octagon, like it being Nate Diaz's 30th fight. And I think, again, this is going to go well for Conor McGregor. In simple English gematria, fantastic also sums to 93, like Saturn, the keeper of time. Time equals 144. We talked about the significance of time. Interesting that they emphasize that number. Here's the gematria for unanimous decision. I'm not sure that that's going to happen tomorrow. We don't have the same alignment, and I didn't take the time to research what synced up with the date numerology. But if he does win by unanimous decision, just remember how well that goes with mixed martial arts and Conor McGregor. Here's something interesting. Ronda Rousey's birthday has 109 numerology. That's the 29th prime number. Conor McGregor's birthday has 109 numerology. Royce Gracie's birthday has 109 numerology. And Royce Gracie in gematria equals 109. You think it's a coincidence? He won his last fight on Royce Gracie's birthday, December 12th, again by 13 seconds. When the rematch first got scheduled, Nate Diaz was complaining about it, saying it was a gift from the UFC. Gift has gematria of 42, just like birthday, just like Freemason, just like the last fight coming 42 days before Nate Diaz's birthday. I think all these guys get gifts. My buddy, again, who loves the UFC, he can't see Nate Diaz being a sellout. He thinks he's authentic. My friend pays way more attention to UFC, so I'll respect his opinion and anyone else who thinks it. But if you pay attention to my work, you're going to have a hard time denying that these things are scripted by the numbers. And here's Conor McGregor from not long ago on his own Twitter. My life is numbers and sequences, and I am the master of both. Interesting post. The word master in gematria sums to 31. 31's the 11th prime number, and the master number in numerology is 11. The master builder number is 22. Master also has gematria of 22. I'm telling you, our entire language is based on this gematria system. English equals 74, gematria 74, Masonic 74, Jewish 74, holiday 74, Independence Day 74. English language created, new nation, United States of America established. And our entire history has been this way, by the numbers, coded within the language. All right, Truth Seeker, we'll see what happens. Until next time.